Russia has detained 11, including 4 key suspects. Russian security forces were blamed for their late arrival. Vladimir Putin said terrorism can happen anywhere. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
The attack is the deadliest in Russia in years. About 100 people remain hospitalized. ISIS has long targeted Russia over its forces intervening in the Syrian civil war. A lawsuit against a social media site over hate speech has been tossed by a federal judge.
In a lawsuit, Elon Musk's X, the social media company formerly known as Twitter, alleged the Center for Countering Digital Hate illegally obtained platform data to create incorrect, misleading reports. The nonprofit denying the claims, accusing X and Musk of retaliating over a report dubbed Toxic Twitter, detailing a rise of hate speech on the platform since Musk's takeover. A federal judge in San Francisco approving the center's request to throw out the lawsuit, finding X was trying to silence its critics and violated a California law prohibiting litigation that aims to punish free speech. In a statement, X said it disagreed with the decision and planned to appeal. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
The Golden Globes and CBS have reached a 5-year deal to broadcast the annual award show and stream it live on Paramount Plus. The new agreement, which begins next year, gives the Globes a new broadcast home. The Globes had long resided at NBC before the network dropped it over a Los Angeles Times story, which revealed the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which votes for the nominees, had no black members. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Hello, everyone. This is Lawrence Sutton, and this is the Tennessee Legislative Report. Typically, my special guests are my compadre, Chris Morris, is not here today. He had things that he had to do. But we brought in a guest that we have had a couple of weeks ago, and I really appreciate him coming in, and it's Mike Sawyer. Mike Sawyer is with American Independent Power. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, and I really appreciate you having me in today.
Man, I really do too, because, you know, with everything that's going on right now, I'm glad you could come in, and we want to talk about what you're doing, obviously, but you have a special knowledge that a lot of us don't happen with what's going on, I think, in the world today, especially with what's happening in Haiti.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to know, if you do not know about Mike, I would highly recommend you going to his website, and that website is www.aipowerllc.com. I'll give it to you one more time. It's www.aipowerllc.com. And you can reach him at his phone number at 813-205-3281. So, Mike, I just want to start at the get-go. You had shared with me when you were on the show last time, and we went out and had dinner, that you had done a lot of missionary work, and you had done a lot of missionary work in Haiti.
Yeah.
And I was actually, me and Brandon Taylor, who's on with me on Wednesday, we were actually talking about Haiti. And Brandon, who is also my pastor, he was making he made the comment to me that he looked at Haiti being one of the weakest countries in the world, and that things that are happening to him, he feels like, or happening to Haiti, he feels like it is spiritual more than physical. And he actually said, and this is what really grabbed my attention when he said it, because we're just talking, okay? Right. But how he said it, he just said it nonchalantly. But he said that he looked at what's happening in Haiti as being the precursor to what happens at the end of the world when the Antichrist takes over and the things that are going on.
Yeah.
And that really brought my attention to it, because I'll tell everybody this, I don't hide it or anything else. I really believe that we are closer to the Lord coming back today than we were yesterday. And
a lot closer.
So can you tell me some of the experiences that you had as a missionary in Haiti and what you are seeing happening? Because I'm going to tell you something, the media is not talking about this at all.
No, and there's a really good reason for that. My experiences really started in 1999 on my first trip. I went down there with my wife and some representatives from Missionary Ventures to do a site survey to see about bringing in a field coordinator to bring short-term teams. Now, at that time, Haiti was relatively stable. President Aristide was in power. He overstayed his welcome. And we had a good relationship, the United States and Haiti, and there was some trade and there was some economic benefits. But they were still under a 200-year-old curse, which began with a man named Boukman. And he actually prayed for Satan to deliver his enemies into his hands, the people that were ruling Haiti at the time, and he did. So there was this incredibly savage battle. They beat the enemy, they drove him out, and the deal was that they would serve Satan directly for 200 years. Well, that term expired in the early 2000s. It was 2005, 2006, and all that time, this has been one big spiritual war. And that's the reason why at any given point in time, there's as many as 1,200 missionaries in Haiti. And Haiti is not a big place.
No. As a matter of fact, they share an island with the Dominican Republic.
Right. Now, interestingly enough, the island of Hispaniola is split between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And
Right.
Haiti has the lion's share of the real estate, but all the prosperity is on the side that's actually following God. And the dichotomy is visually
It
staggering.
is stunning,
Because
yes.
you can look at both of these places from a satellite view and see the devastation on one side. And in fact, if you don't let your imagination go too far, you can look at how Haiti is shaped with the island of Lagonave in the bay, and it looks like a dragon getting ready to eat something on the Haiti side.
Okay.
And it's just a block of paradise on the Dominican side. So I mean, there's a lot of visual symbolism and a lot of visual cues that you can take from Haiti, but they didn't govern themselves well. Voodoo basically grew up in Haiti, and it is if you've ever had any real experience, for all you believers out there, if you've ever had any real experience with evil, then you understand demons are real. You know, there are witch doctors, bocos, different people who serve different evil spirits in Haiti, and this is real stuff. I mean, our ministry founders, Bob and Joyce Coder, and myself, my wife, and others who've worked with us have faced that evil, I mean, head on, with, violence.
Right.
I've preached my first sermon in a place called City Soleil. That was the big tin house junkyard right on the bay, and for years you could look at a satellite image of that and it was just scum in the water. It was just it's unlike any place on earth. You can look at Bangladesh and you see the corrugated tin houses and cardboard houses and just anything kludged together. Those two places have a very strong resemblance to each other, but in Haiti, the evil is absolutely palpable. I mean,
Right.
You could cut it with a knife. I didn't realize that's where I was because we were working with the new Missionary Venture field coordinator, and the sermon that I preached was on unconditional love. I don't know why the Lord put that in my heart at the moment, but there were about 24 people in this little bitty block hut with no windows and only one door, and it was just brutally hot. And there was a woman sitting in the front, and she had the only clean thing that she had was a small white towel. Well, sweat was just pouring off me. I finished the sermon and followed it up with a prayer for each person in there that they would be able to experience unconditional love. And that's something in Haiti that doesn't exist because they don't value human life, period. There's a caste system there, and it is men, boys, women, girls, in that order. And women and girls are considered property. Boys are basically slaves until they, to the men, and the men, it's a patriarchal society.
Right.
But it was so evil that there was a witch doctor outside chanting and inviting spirits while I was preaching. My wife and the rest of the team were out there doing spiritual battle with the witch doctor and the people that he was attracting. I finished this sermon, and this woman got up and took this beautifully clean white towel. I've never seen anything that clean in Haiti since. and started mopping the sweat off my face. She was expressing what she understood, that sermon, so I saw hope. And that was my first sermon, and I spent 12 years there doing just that.
So you actually got to experience the earthquake then?
Well, no, I wasn't there when the earthquake happened.
Okay.
And we weren't able to go back in until after the hurricane, the earthquake.
Okay.
And we were working with the Bush-Clinton initiative to try to restore power. And it was the only opportunity we had been given at that time, because we were still in the early stages of development of our power systems, and it was the LN2G, our nitrogen drive system, that we were going to put in there and just electrify Haiti from one end to the other. We had the budget to do it. All that money disappeared. We had selected a site, and the evil is so rampant in Haiti at the government level that between the operators of the Bush-Clinton initiative and the indigenous officials,
right,
tens of millions of dollars that were supposed to be associated with putting up mainstream power to restore Port-au-Prince and that area first, and then the rest of the island later, just disappeared. We must have spent $100,000 of our own money doing the site surveys and getting everything ready, but that's how evil it is there, and it's gotten worse. It's gotten much worse.
Well, see, and that was why, that's why I wanted you to come in and talk about. So what little that we're being told about in Haiti, and again, this did not get my attention until Brandon said what he did last week when he said, hey, are you paying attention to Haiti? What's going on there? And when he said that, it really looked like a dichonium of the end times is happening right now in Haiti. So tell us, from your understanding and the people you've talked to, because you're still talking with people there in Haiti, what has actually happened? What is going on with this breakdown in the society right now currently?
Well, with no government officials, with no real policing, and of course policing has always been kind of a joke there anyway, but with absolutely no government control and no organization, people just have completely abandoned all hope. Mm-hmm. And when people abandon all hope, they become completely savage. And that's what Satan is after: steal, kill, and destroy. And that's what you're seeing there. You're actually seeing Satan actively working to destroy that entire society. And the Dominican is panicked because they see it too. They are actually building a wall. And they've built more than 100 miles of it, and it's keeping the Haitians out that want to migrate there and steal from them.
Right.
So apparently walls do work.
Yeah. you think?
Little plug for the next president. But it's just been such a heartbreaking thing to watch, because we were seeing Haiti being restored, and then suddenly it's completely fallen apart, and it has just descended completely into chaos.
So there's not been one particular incident that is causing what little we're seeing, like on TV and stuff, to happen.
That it all started spiraling completely out of control after the hurricane. I mean, after the
earthquake.
Right.
Okay.
And then, of course, there was a hurricane.
Right.
And that just made things worse. But because all of the infrastructure was destroyed, I mean, they haven't had any decent power there. There was no decent power to start with, but at least they would have intermittent power from time to time.
Right.
There's been no power since the presidential assassination.
Okay. So you think that was the tinderbox, is
That
the presidential
really was.
assassination?
Yeah, because even they went over the line for themselves. By assassinating their president, they basically threw all civilization and rules out the window, and now it is just everybody for themselves.
Well, we've seen this happen in the United States, but it did not throw us into chaos. So what do you think led that? I mean, for the assassination to happen of that president, was he someone that was working for the Haiti's good, or was he a guy that was like some of the other ones, like Papa Doc and Baby Doc and stuff?
He was. This was. We're fed up. We're tired of seeing one after another steal from us.
Right.
Now, the Haitian people have a very unique view on everything. It's one of the reasons that I was so committed to them and why I fell in love with them and why I had to serve there for so many years. They're very black and white in how they see things. If you lie to one of them, they will never trust you again, even once.
Right.
But if you say something and it's truthful and they see evidence of that time after time, they'll trust you until the end of time.
Right.
And they will work with you. I mean, you can take virtually any Haitian and turn them into your friend. Now, keeping in mind, culturally, they still have the issues with, how they view value of life and which life is valuable, which one isn't.
Right.
But they do have a code that they live by, that as long as you deal fairly with me, I will deal fairly with you, and I'll even protect you. But that chaos spun completely out of control after the assassination, and I wouldn't say that that's the case anymore. I think they finally have had their society so degraded and so put upon by so many people, especially their own. So the whole point behind Boukman's deal was to get rid of the outsiders so they could govern themselves and be in charge of their own prosperity. And because they were under that yoke of Satan for 200 years,
Right.
generation after generation learned that, and that's what they serve. And so evangelism in Haiti is a really tough job. To get a truly committed heart to accept Christ and live only for Christ is...
So how are Christians tolerated in Haiti?
Oh, great.
Really?
Because they bring food.
Okay, but what about the Haitians that become Christians themselves? Are they ostracized or anything?
Well, now, not generally speaking, but when Christians can't openly challenge a witch doctor, I mean, we're basically the only ones that are, not smart enough not to do that.
Right.
We'll have the courage in our faith to be able to confront directly, face to face. Now, in some cases, that can cost you your life, because the one thing that there is in abundance in Haiti are machetes.
Oh, okay.
And they use them.
They use them, right. So you're when you say it'll cost you your life, we're not talking about a spiritual issue. We're talking about a straight physical issue.
Oh, no. This is all spiritual, but it manifests physically.
Physically, yes, that's what I mean.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I've been, in a church preaching and had a witch doctor show up at the door and start screaming curses, and people start leaving the church, and I have to have that spiritual confrontation with the witch doctor in front of these people to show that the blood of Jesus Christ is more powerful than the demon that boko serves. Our ministry founder, Bob Coder, I have watched him do some incredibly miraculous things where that's concerned. We're doing battle with the demon-possessed person, and it's real. Evil is real in Haiti.
Yeah, well, it's real everywhere.
It is, but it's openly real. It's overt.
Yeah.
You can't avoid seeing it.
Right.
And once you do, you're changed.
Yeah.
Here it's stealthy. It's hidden behind smiles and, back pats and handshakes and money and all the things that allow us not to see the real evil here. But, yeah, there it is unmistakable.
I will tell you this. At least since COVID, I've started seeing the evil manifest its more even inside this country. It's not hiding like it used to.
No, it's not.
I mean, it really used to hide and it didn't want attention, but now it's kind of proud of itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a little play on words here. You look at what's happening with the LGBT community. To me, I watched a interview with this grandmother, and they were asking this grandmother about would she support her granddaughters who were like 9 and 10 years old to go through and transition. And she says, absolutely. If they think that they're boys, absolutely I would support that. And then the next question they ask is, well, how would you support then if they went to get some tattoos? And she said, absolutely not. That's incredible. You know, tattoos are permanent. You have a tattoo, it can't be removed. And I'm like, wow, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know, a tattoo is permanent, but a sex change isn't. And 9 and 10-year-old children, I mean, hey, I'm going to tell you something. I don't like a lot of things, or most of the things, I should say, that Bill Maher says. But Bill Maher made a point, and I think he's gotten opened up. He's been awake a little bit by the wokeness, okay? But he made a comment. He says, thank God when I was 9 and 10 years old and I told my parents I wanted to run off and be a pirate, that they didn't cut off my leg and take an eye out.
Yeah.
And really, that's what we're looking at, because these are children that are making grown-up decisions. Now, I'm going to tell you something, you know, and I can go so far, I would even go so far as say, especially for men, men's brains don't develop till they're 25 years old, you know, but...
Some would argue later.
Yeah, well, yeah, ask my wife. My wife will probably tell you mine still hasn't developed. But the fact remains, even wait until 18, you know, to become and make a decision on that, it has to be done. I mean, we tell a person that they're got to be 18 years old before they can vote. They got to be 16 before they can drive a car. They got to be 21 before they can buy a handgun legally, or they can buy alcohol or cigarettes now. Mm-hmm. But we're going to allow a child, a prepubescent child, that's a mouthful, to make the life-altering decisions to basically castrate themselves. Right. And so that's just one of the evils that I see. And the fact is, since 1973, we have been sacrificing our children to the altar of Moloch. Mm-hmm. And people, when you're listening to this, go look up Moloch in your Bible. Just go, and you can go and look on Wikipedia or something like that, and find out what we're doing. You know, we have lost a whole generation of children. Matter of fact, we're really, if you think about it, we're starting on the third generation of children.
A lot of the confusion among adults that are doing that is it's driven by fear. Okay, and that fear is the fear of what the left has so vividly and stringently applied to society by way of threats, shutdowns, boycotts. I mean, you name it. They've demonized everybody who's tried to stand up to anything right. They've bullied doctors during COVID and cost them their jobs and their careers if they talked about herd immunity. Evil will use fear to manipulate people to do what it wants.
Right.
And that's what's happening with all these adults. Most of these adults, if you get them alone and you have a quiet conversation and ask them directly, are you serious about this? Do you really believe this? A lot of them will actually say, you know what, these people scare the hell out of me. And, you know, I'm just going to go along with it because I don't want my career ruined. I still have to earn a living. I mean, all of these things, if you want to get by in life with as little friction as possible, you go with the flow of the greatest threat. And the greatest threat right now is the evil that's coming out of this woke agenda broadly. So
I will tell this to our Christian audience and even our non-Christian audiences. Mm-hmm. Jesus said it perfectly. Wide is the road, but narrow is the gate. And right. when I hear what you're saying just then, that's the scripture that popped into my head, is that when we follow the world, right, we're not going to hit that narrow gate. And Jesus even said this. He said that if they first hated me, mm-hmm. they first hated me. So you almost have to consider yourself
But he also said they will hate you because of me.
That's right. That's what I'm.
That's what people can't stand. They can't stand to be hated.
You know, but if you are, then you know you're doing the right thing.
Sure.
I'm just going to tell everybody that.
Right.
Have courage. And I can't remember the verse, but it's in Revelation. And I'll look it up, while you're talking here. But it talks about the people that are thrown into the lake of fire. And the people that are thrown into the lake of fire, we have your adulterers, we have your sorcerers, which, by the way, sorcery in the Greek, where the Revelation was originally written in Greek language, is the word pharmakia. So I think everybody can figure out what that means. But it lists like 7 or 8 sins of the people that are thrown into the lake of fire with Satan and his demons. The very first one that's mentioned is the fearful.
Yep.
There's a reason that the fearful was mentioned first. And it's hard. I get it. I understand. Like you said, people are trying to make a living. They're trying to provide for their children. But I'm going to tell everybody this. Mm-hmm. And hopefully this survives. We have a rapture of the church. People will hear me on this. The fearful is the reason that people will take that mark of the beast.
Right.
Is because of fear. And Jesus tells us, he's very plain about this, do not fear the one that can destroy your body.
Right.
Fear the one that can destroy your body and soul. And guess what? The Antichrist has no part of our soul. He can't destroy that. So it's very interesting. I really appreciate this on telling us about what you experienced in Haiti, because everybody's talking about, the poor Palestinians, look at what the bad Jews are doing to the poor Palestinians, where the Palestinians actually started this fight. And, it's kind of funny, the left does this, and the left talks about, we want to talk about Black Lives Matter, okay? What about all these people that are suffering in Haiti, and we're not doing anything? Not only are we not doing anything about it, but we are still so focused on what's happening in Palestine, who they're the ones that started this fight. Mm-hmm. Okay? Say what you will, they're the ones that started the fight. And you'll say, well, there's innocent people there. Yes, there is innocent people there. But these people have stayed there, number one. Number two, innocent people were also the ones that were out in the streets chanting death to Israel, death to America, after this attack happened in October of 2023. And even these innocent people are the ones that were keeping Jews as hostages in their homes.
And again, it's the fear factor. Most of these people are operating out of fear of Hamas.
Right.
That whole society, Hamas didn't come in and manage that society as its rulers. It exploited it, and it kept those people so pegged in fear every day that regardless of what they feel in their mind and heart is right or what the Quran says, their actions are being driven 100% by the fear of what Hamas members will do to them and their families. And again, people just want to be able to spend time with their families, earn a living, live a reasonably happy life, and not be bothered. But when you've got any evil that forces itself on any person or group of people to act a certain way, that's what you're seeing a lot of. And so while Palestinian citizens are participating in this, most of them are participating out of fear, not committed belief to an ideology. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you're seeing in Haiti. And to your point earlier is how is what's going on in Haiti potentially going to affect us, and will we descend into that? We absolutely are already descending into that.
Amen.
All of the wokeness and all of the fear and the kowtowing to it is what's changing people from common sense citizens who know right from wrong to accepting anything and everything that's forced into their minds and hearts by people who are in control. And the people that are in control are the ones that have committed to doing the most harm to the population if they don't do what they say.
Yeah. You know, in the book of Isaiah, Isaiah says it pretty plainly that in the end times that good will be called evil and evil will be called good.
Exactly.
And to me, there's never been a more time of that. And I'll even we'll take it to Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1 is very, I actually look at Romans chapter 1 as being more prophetic than it is actually a condemnation on people. But when it says that God gave them over to a reprobate mind, that is one of the most scariest verses. And why did he give them over to a reprobate mind? Is because they worshiped the creature instead of the creator. The men lost the use of women, and they did unseemly things with other men, and women the same thing. They lost the use of the natural affection for men, and they burned in lust one for another. Look at today. Is that not today?
It's exactly. And it's what's been built since the 50s when the whole ideology made its way into the public eye. It was always in private. I mean, sin has been sin since the beginning.
Right.
But once it started making its way into the public eye and first, being expressed and then accepted and then finally celebrated. So, you've gone from condemned to accepted to celebrated on the part of evil. And on the part of good, you've gone from celebrated to accepted to condemned.
Right.
So evil and good have finally switched roles. Now, to do the direct comparison with Haiti, if we as a country lost power, okay, now there is no cohesion. There is no government that's holding us together. There is no hope. We finally become candidates to be exactly like the Haitian population. They didn't start that way,
right?
But they gradually became that way because less and less good was there, less and less governance, less and less resource, and now it's just a chaotic camping trip.
The thing that's a good way of looking at chaotic camping trip because these people don't even have places to live now.
No.
And it's kind of funny, as you was explaining that, I was sitting here thinking, and this is a question I have for you because you've seen this up close. I've never seen this. Okay, I'm going to tell you something. I have never seen anything like this, especially up close and personal like you have. But my theory is this. If and when we have something drastic happen to the United States, I think we spiral into what's happening with Haiti a lot faster than even what the Haitians experienced because
no doubt.
we have not, in this country, we do not know what doing without is. I mean, when you have people that are living on the streets that have a cell phone for crying out loud, and that just brings me to another point, when you have the two witnesses, when, people are going to be celebrating and every eye is going to see the two witnesses after they have laid dead in the streets come up again. And then when Jesus said, before I come back, the whole world, the gospel has to be spread out to the whole world. Well, I'm going to tell you something. It has. And we have the ability.
Right.
I mean, when you factor in the population in the world today, and you factor in children under the age of 12, that is how many cell phones are in the hands of people right now. And I'm going down a rabbit hole. I have an ADHD moment here. Okay, so you're just going to have to forgive me, Mike. But I look at the scripture, and it's in Luke 21, and it's in Matthew 24. And Jesus tells us, one, he says, do not be deceived when the disciples are asking him when he is coming back. And he actually tells it to us twice in that dissertation that he does. But one of the things that always blew my mind, or I shouldn't say blew my mind, but it started blowing my mind when I put it in this context. And the context is this, is that the Bible was written to us, but it wasn't written for us. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. The Bible was written for us, but it wasn't written to us, meaning when it was written in first century in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, it was written over a couple of thousand years, okay, that the Bible was written. And so things change. But Jesus says this, he's talking about the Antichrist. He says that if they say he's out in the desert, do not go. If they tell you that he's in a secret room, don't believe it. I got news for you. What better way to describe what a secret room is other than a computer, your cell phone, or a television? And especially with the rise of artificial intelligence even. So I'm sorry, I went on my rampage, but
that's okay, because all of this is relevant when you put it all in the context of where is this country going and what can happen to us.
Yes.
But see, we're also at a greater disadvantage than the Haitians, because the Haitians didn't have a concerted campaign of evil being forced on it. It just happened over time,
right?
Because one man made a deal with Satan that eventually migrated out into the population, and it became the culture. But it took generations for that to happen. In less than one generation, we've watched what the woke agenda at large and all of the content that goes with it, from the sexual elements of it to the identity elements of it, but it all has to do with everything is okay for you. Period.
Right.
Everything is okay for you. And if anybody says it's not, well, we'll just destroy them.
Yeah, you're a hater.
Now people have been convinced that you're the enemy. The guy next door who may disagree with them is now the enemy, and they're evil. Well, that didn't actually happen in Haiti. They didn't turn on each other because of an ideology. This was simply a cultural change that took place because one man decided to try to save them by making a deal with the devil.
Right.
And so this happened over the generations, and of course the result was the same, but it'll happen faster to us because we have already had the seeds of evil and that ideology that your next door neighbor is your enemy, and people will return to violence or revert to violence much quicker here than they did there.
Right.
Because, I spent 8 years in Haiti and never saw a single machete swung in anger. Now, we would see the occasional, what they call a manifestation. Haitians are easily incited to violence for no good reason at all, but it dissipates as fast as it happens. And so they can get upset about something really quickly, but then as soon as, it can be minutes, certainly not days.
Unlike Antifa or BLM here.
Right. Yeah. And so, when they feel like they've satisfied their anger, they all just go home. And so they might burn a tire or a car. They might even kill somebody. But we didn't see really much evidence of that in the first 7 or 8 years we were there. And it wasn't until the clock ran out on the original deal and Aristide tried to restart it that we started seeing all that evil. Because he and all of the witch doctors that he was inciting were trying to incite in different parts of the country. And so that uptick and upswell of violence was more apparent. But again, this was over 200 years. We've seen in less than one generation that same mentality. I mean, you can see what happens with Antifa or BLM or any of the other left-wing groups that think it's okay to burn a courthouse or destroy people or go up and punch old people for fun. I mean, that's embedded now in this generation.
And what did Ronald Reagan say? that you could lose your freedom within one generation. We're one generation away from losing our freedom.
Right. That is this generation. And so now think about it. If based on what this generation of evil has been able to teach and embed, what happens now if we did happen to lose power, which is a real possibility,
right,
and even a probability based on Russia's threats and on the ability for even one person to take out a large section of the United States all by themselves.
What about all the people that have come across our borders and we don't even know who they are?
That fits with an invasion and submission plan that I put together that I need to send you to review, because
so we may have another radio program on this.
Well, that's a real possibility. And if that were going to happen, the ideal time for that to happen would be between April and September, before the election.
So I'm going to just tell you this, Mike. You know, I feel like God's put me on this earth to be a watchman on the wall. Mm-hmm. And the watchman on the wall is to get the information out there. And again, I try to give everything that I shouldn't say everything. I try to give as much as I can of my opinion backed with Scripture.
Right.
And there's sometimes I'm just opinionated. Period. End of story. And I'm not ashamed of that either. But I will say this. I don't kind of know where I'm going with this, because I look at what has happened with our country. Mm-hmm. Since I was a boy, mm-hmm. and then became a young man, and now I guess I'm middle-aged now at 51, and I do not recognize the country even from 20 years ago when my son was born.
No.
I don't recognize the animosity and the hate from both sides. Mm-hmm. I'm guilty. I'll be willing to admit I'm guilty of it. You know, I have a tough time with the innocent killing of babies. I mean, and I'm sorry if people don't believe that and they think it's my body, my choice. Okay, I understand that. But here's the problem with that, is that child has its own brain, its own heart beat. It even has its own blood type. You know, the child's blood type is different from the mother's even.
It has its own genetic makeup.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, it has half of its chromosomes from the mother and half the chromosomes from the father. And to me, there's nothing more loved or innocent than a baby. Mm-hmm. And when you say that, okay, we're going to kill this fetus. They want to call it a fetus, but it's a baby. It's a human being. And again, I'm going to back this up in the book of Jeremiah. In the book of Jeremiah, God says, I knew you before you were formed in the womb.
Right.
And I do know this, and it was funny. Billy Graham, and I don't exactly agree with everything Billy Graham said. But Billy Graham made a point back in the 70s even, a long time ago, mm-hmm. where he says that if God does not judge America, he will have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. And let's think about that from the 70s, and you look at today, how much more depraved we were than we are today. And it's just, to me, it's mind-boggling.
Well, and really, it's. I'll try to swing the pendulum back the other way.
Okay.
Because that anxiety and that heartbreak exists in a lot of believers as we observe what's going on around us, we have the knowledge and the ability to help the believing community stay viable through whatever happens, and still be able to minister to people and to express the love of Jesus Christ to the unchurched, to the disobedient, to the lost, which is our job. We're called to that as a job. Mm-hmm. In the Great Commission. That's a command.
Right.
And, but I look at it through the lens of I care enough about that person being that far lost that I want God to give us the opportunity to keep the church, to keep believers in groups propped up well enough to be able to continue to minister when it all goes sideways. And it will go sideways.
It always has.
Right.
It always has. So
And it's just a matter of time.
So I want to bring this up then as a point. You're doing some work, or just got through actually finishing some work from a very good friend of mine.
Yeah,
I mean, a very
pardon the dress.
well. But you know what? I appreciate you came in this because your heart felt like it, and I appreciate it. And you've done this for a very good friend of mine, where you've helped him with power goes out. Mm-hmm. Now, is he going to be able to live like he currently does now? No, but can he survive with some form of power? And I'm just going to tell you, Mike, at a very, very minimal cost from what I've heard. I mean, you did for him at about a 10% cost, in my eyes, what I've seen a lot of people pay to be able to control their own electricity needs. So that has gotten my attention, totally, because your company has been able to make it affordable for just about anybody. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking about something that you're going to have to pay on it, like even a car payment. We're not even talking about the cost of a car. Right. We're talking about you did it for a cost of a decent 1-week vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the cost goes, we're talking about a cost that if you ate out one less time a week for a year, you could pay for it.
Probably, yeah.
And that's what really has gotten my attention. You're starting to bring this out, and to me, Mike, is amazing. But your background, you're an engineer, is what you are. But you have many hats. But how your mind thinks, you have totally taken what most people was unaffordable, mm-hmm. and you have made it affordable. And you're starting to do this you're doing like seminars and stuff for churches and like other groups out there, are you not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I was just at one last night. It was a Purim celebration on Kings Hill in Nashville. And that was a great time of prayer and celebration. And I got to do some mini presentations with some of the pastors there. And, Jeff Richfield, who is somebody that we're working with at this time, was the owner of Music City Roofing. Great servant of the Lord. He's been getting us connected with the right people, and but yeah, this is a passion for us, and it's a ministry and it's a mission. We know that we need to be applying our skills, our wares, and our products to this process, because we can make a living doing this. We have made a living doing this for 30 years, but we see the end coming, and we don't want to just be sitting there in our own little comfort zone when it all goes south. Yeah,
because you're what, 68 now? Mm-hmm. You don't have to be out here doing this. You don't have to be out working. You could actually sit back on your laurels if you wanted to.
I don't remember anywhere in Scripture where God gave a retirement age from service.
I don't either. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you didn't say that, I was going to.
Yeah, he hadn't given me permission to stop doing what I'm doing yet, and I hope he doesn't.
I mean Moses, he took him down to the very end.
Yep, I want to slide into home plate, worn out, beat up, and ready to go home.
That's right.
Safe.
That's right. Amen. So, again, you can bring the information that we're just touching on here, mm-hmm. but you can bring it to other groups. I'm going to tell you something. I would love to have you come to our Republican Party and do that. And it's too bad that you live so far away, because we actually have our Republican Party meeting tomorrow. They're at the courthouse at 6 p.m. But I think everybody at least needs to be given the information that you have, because then we can make a decision. Because like I told you, I thought it was so unaffordable. I thought most of these projects in order to have your own system would start at $10,000 or I have a friend of mine that spent $40,000 on his, and most people just don't have that money laying around.
Yeah, and depending on what your power needs are and what kind of load you'll provide, you can spend the average, say, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square foot home these days in the solar industry is getting quoted somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000.
Right.
And that will supposedly take care of between 50 and 70% of their power bill.
Right.
And so you look at the ROI on that, and at $70,000, if you're not paying $1,000 a month in an electric bill, that's going to be a long ROI. It's gonna
ROI. So tell everybody what ROI is.
Return on investment.
Yes.
So you basically take the purchase price of the system and you amortize it based on the monthly bill and the percentage of what you're saving over time, and you figure out how many years. Very quickly, it's going to take you to get all that money back.
A long time. See, and I did that myself back a long time ago, and it just didn't make sense for me.
We won't put a system in. We've turned down a lot of business. Now, that's not a smart thing to do in a lot of business circles, but if we can't ROI a system in under 10 years, we won't put it in.
Okay.
So you'll never, in fact, our warranties have gone from 5 to 7 to 10 years over the last 8 years. We've managed to get good field data and performance data, and we feel comfortable with a 10-year warranty on most of our products and systems. And so your system is likely to still be under warranty when it pays for itself.
Okay. And you actually have other things if people have certain needs that you can do it a lot. I mean, you're not talking about running a house here. You're talking about if they needed to have some lights, have the refrigerator.
Right. And those are the survival elements, and that's why on our site you can see 3 different kinds of kits that are very affordable. And if you don't have that kind of cash or you don't have that room on your credit card, you can actually work with our lenders. Lightstream is one of the best consumer lenders out there. They're just absolutely a joy to deal with, and you can actually apply online and have an answer in an hour.
Right.
And so you can know whether you can get one of those, and they have 3, 4, 5-year terms on a couple of $1,000s. The payment, again, it's the price of dinner.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're talking $50-$60 a month. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, that there are these things out there where, okay, are you going to live like you do now? No. Mm-hmm. Are you going to survive?
That's
yes.
The key.
Yes.
Because if you've got power in your house when things go sideways, you have hope.
That's right.
And as long as you have hope, Christ can make a difference in your life. If you are completely destitute and devoid of hope, you will not see what benefits God has for you or what God's future is for you. You have to have hope.
That's a good word. That's a good word. So here's another good question for you before we leave out. Everything that you know that's going on, and it's a 2-part question. I see what happened to people just a month or 2 ago when they lost their phone for 8 hours. People about lost their mind when they couldn't get on the internet or make a phone call even.
Yeah.
So what do you think the actions are going to be for people when they've lost the power and they're like, okay, we may not get this power back on for months.
Or years.
Or years even, yes. How do you think, people are going to react? And everything that you've done and studied in this industry, what do you look at as being a chance of that happening?
Oh, it's a likelihood. It's absolutely a likelihood. I don't think people understand the true nature of the vulnerabilities that we have in our utility grid across the country. it is very likely that a third or more of the country will lose power for years.
Really?
We're likely
years.
to see that years. Well, again, taking out one of the LPTs, one of the large power transformers, the 2,000 megawatts or greater, it takes a couple of years to get those. And so you can't restore power to anything that power was flowing through. Now, they'll kludge in different parts of the country to try to get some segments of it back up, but the bulk of that population will be in darkness for years.
Okay.
And that is where you'll see people's hope leave.
Well, fastest hour in radio. We got less than a minute left, I believe. I do want to send a shout out for this West End Community Center. April 6th from 4 to 7 p.m. is having a fish fry. And I will tell you, if you have not eaten J.C. Wisdom's catfish, you are missing out. I'm just going to tell you. Best catfish in Lawrence County when West End Community Center does their catfish dinner. So that will be Saturday, April the 6th from 4 to 7 p.m. I encourage everybody to go out there. I'll be out there even.
This is WDXE, W287 AA and W237FD Lawrenceburg. Broadcast services of Prospect Communications.
Such a great community. Mike, I'll tell you this. God bless you, sir. Again, it's www.aipowerllc.com.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
I'll still take the rest of the field because
God bless Tennessee. God bless Lawrence County. Have a good day, everybody. See everybody Wednesday. Goodbye.
And 2023 had 6